God bless you and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. So in today's video, we're going to be taking the RBC intake manifold off of the EP3 and putting in Jackspania Racing's intake manifold and throttle setup. So this should, in theory, give us a little bit more power because this is a full K20A2 that has been swapped in, and I put K24A2 cams from an 08 Acura TSX, so it's the really big K24 cams. And this thing definitely screams. Listen to this sound clip. So it sounds really, really good. This has the true cold air intake. I actually ran it all the way down, didn't have to relocate the battery. The engine intake system doesn't require you to relocate the battery. So hopefully it'll stay that way with the new intake manifold. One of the issues on the EP3 is, does it fit? Because the RBC I had to hammer in to kind of make clearance for the RBC manifold, and the Jackspania I have no idea yet. So we're going to be testing that. Also, if you want one of these Jackspania manifolds, there will be a link in the description with a discount code. Take advantage of that discount code and save you guys some money. So he went ahead and sent it, and here it is. So from first glance of the intake manifold, it does look like it will fit. I don't think it's more than 10.5 inches, and I believe the one on here is a 10.5 inch from flange base to right here. So it should fit in theory, but the only way to really know is to put it on. So this thing is super high quality, and as you can see, it says Jackspania on it, really nice. And check out the inside of this thing. Absolutely awesome. Looks beautiful, holds lots of volume, and should be pretty good. Now the tune will need adjusted because a lot more air means I'm going to have to add more fuel. But the only thing that absolutely really sucks about this is I have to chop up a perfectly good intake manifold. Now the reason that is because this is for the K20 Z3 and the K24. They have the coolant part is attached to the manifold, and I don't think he has a K20 version where it fits like the Type S or anything yet, but that's not a big deal because I had to do the same thing to the RBC when installing it. So I'm going to take the gasket off of here, and then I'm going to mark where I need to chop, and I'm going to carefully cut this aluminum right off. I can't wait to see what this does. It also came with all the bolts and stuff that's needed. I think this is the throttle bracket. It lines up, those holes do? I don't know. We'll figure it all out, and I already have a Jackspania fuel rail, so everything right there should just kind of swap right over. And in this box, we have the throttle body. Super nice quality. Everything looks good. So we will have to swap over the TPS as to be expected. Came with new gasket and all the hardware. So I'm going to go ahead and get the RBC intake manifold off of here. For people who don't know, it's really simple. You've got these 12mm bolts that go all the way through. Undo all the connectors, the intake pipe, and it pulls right out. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out, and then we will get this one chopped up as needed and go from there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Alright, I went ahead and undid everything from the RBC intake manifold and got it pulled out, and here it is. So we've got the throttle body that Jackspania sent, and this is the factory Type S, and EP3 and Type S have the same throttle body. We're going to go ahead and measure this one real quick. 66, pretty much 66.2. We're going to measure this one. 70mm. So it's definitely bigger and it will move more air, which is exactly what we want it to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, get everything transferred directly over to all these spots, TPS, the block off, fuel rail and injectors, and then we will move on to the intake manifold from Jackspania. Alright, I went ahead, got the throttle position sensor on, and it does have a gasket I just made out of gasket paper, so that way it's got a nice seal. And I need to adjust it still, but that's simple. Just open HON data, and then I can adjust it and see a live feedback. And then got the evap, the map sensor, and the air idle control valve on it, and it looks good to go. So this thing's ready to go. I will put a link in the description for the evap block off and a map sensor block off for the intake manifold. Jackspania sells both of those. And yeah. All right, moving over to the intake manifold. You've got the gasket. You want to make sure that it's oriented properly, because you can put it on upside down. The bolt holes won't line up. So you want to make sure it's the right way. It's the same method as I used on the RBC to cut it. So if you need a full in-depth video, I have a video. I'll try to link that in the description. But basically, to make it short, sweet, and to the point, we're just going to cut off that. So that's basically what we'll be cutting off, is all of this whole section. So I went and got a brand new cutoff wheel. I'm basically just going to cut a straight line, and then I'm going to use the grinder to shape it, and then this will be good. But before I do that, I'm going to tape up all the ports so we don't get any metal shavings inside the manifold. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Alright, I got it trimmed. It's not perfect, but it's cut off and still has plenty of strength. And as you can see, bolt holes line up. I'll show you by putting the bolt in it. It's threading, and it does fit, but it is very, very close. You will have to hit this with a sledgehammer or just chop some of this support out a little bit. I prefer to keep as much support as possible, so I just hit it in with a sledgehammer. Then you'll have an issue with the hood shutting, so you will need to hit it with a sledgehammer, and then you'll need to bend this part back a little bit so that way it still latches. But everything's looking good. I can go ahead and fully assemble this, and then we can get it all fully installed. Okay, so I went to test fit it, and it didn't quite fit in there with the throttle body on. So I ended up having to notch a little bit out of the core support, something I didn't want to do, but it's necessary to get this big old intake manifold in here. So I did it and was able to get it all bolted up, which some of the bolts were kind of hard to get to, and I kept trying to put a bolt in a spot that there didn't actually need to have a bolt in. It's just a hole drilled in the manifold, and it goes to nothing. So I was kind of confused on that one, but then it took me a while. I finally figured it out that there's no bolt that goes there. But got it all together. The tight fit part is the radiator hose. I have to figure something else out. This thing is squeezed right up against the rubber boot for the cold air intake. So it's just going to heat this thing up like crazy. So I might have to just get a longer hose and go around a little bit more. But it is all on there, and it's not leaking the coolant out after I put it back on, so it's good there. Now, it did come with a throttle bracket for right here, just 2 little bolt holes, and then you bend the tabs up so that way you can put a throttle cable. But I just went with the factory throttle cable bracket. I chopped the cruise control. Well, I technically chopped the normal throttle cable spot and put it on the cruise control spot, and it goes straight over. But I just like it better this way. I didn't want to have the cable going all the way around looping. But got all that done, and I was going to adjust the TPS, and I looked, and it's right at 0. And if I fully floor it, it goes to 100%. So the TPS, the throttle position sensor, is already right in adjustment, so I don't even have to do that. Praise God. Just one more thing to knock off the list of things I have to do. Got all the coolant, the fuel, all the hoses, and everything's ready. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the car. We're going to start it up. All right, so here we go. That thing's loud. to be running, so let's check if there's any codes. Don't see any showing up. So I guess the next thing to do is I'm going to add a little bit of fuel just because this thing's so big. I already know it's going to lean out more, but we'll take it for a little drive, nothing too crazy, just to see how it does, and then we'll be ready for actual dyno tune again. Also, if you didn't see this John 316 steering wheel, I have a video on my other channel on this thing. Definitely want to get it while it lasts because they're limited edition. So definitely check out that link in the description. And I will be doing a giveaway over on my other channel for one of these, and you could enter to win to get a free John 316 steering wheel. But I'm gonna go ahead and let it warm up more, add a little coolant, stuff like that, and then we'll take it for a drive. All right, everything's looking pretty good. Got it data logging. So now we're gonna go ahead and see how it does. All right, I'm gonna do a pull real quick, get some data log information, and then we'll be good to go. So this thing's running fantastic. It pulled really good. I did have to add a bit more fuel, and now it's doing perfect. So it was definitely bringing in more air since I had to richen it up. So yeah, definitely works. I'm gonna head back to the house. We'll go over a bit more. Hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, please hit that like button. Helps me out tremendously. Wow, this thing's awesome. All right, so going over the data log stuff, this thing definitely did really, really good. So here it is. You can see that we're in like the 12, 13s. It starts to get up in the upper 13s, so it still needs a little fine tuning, but majority of the time we're in the 12s. A higher 12, lower 13 is pretty good, especially for all motor. And the air intake temps look beautiful. This thing just absolutely did awesome. Well, I am really happy with this intake manifold. Huge shout out to Jackspania. This is a very quality piece, inside and out. The throttle body is nice. I didn't have any issues with that. The only thing I had issues with was having to cut the EP3 support, which that's kind of to be expected with a large manifold of this size. And I have to get a different hose. Just one that's a little bit longer would be perfectly fine. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I almost wanted to give up, but that's really not in my nature of doing that. So I had to keep pushing, and I'm glad I did because this thing runs fantastic with this. Once Eric gets it on the dyno and retunes it on a cooler day, not a hotter day, I don't see why this thing would make less than 210 to the wheels. There are people thinking 220, 230. It is a K20A2 from top to bottom, freshened up with K24 cams, the 50-degree cam gear on the intake, solid mounts. We've got a stage 2 clutch, this massive intake manifold. We got 310cc injectors, the stock Type S, with free flow exhaust, and it's going to be pretty good. Regardless, it feels good right now. Once Eric readjusts everything, I know it has more in it. But it's absolutely awesome, and it is so much louder with the VTEC. The video just doesn't do it justice. Here's another little sound clip for you. You can hear it, but in person it is so much louder. You can actually feel it. So it's absolutely awesome. It's definitely a quality piece for sure. It will be linked in the description with a discount code. And I just wanted to say again, huge shout out to Jackspania for always making some quality stuff. I have not had an issue with any of his products. He has one of the best priced turbo kits for a K-series on the market. And I've ran it on my RSX, made 500 horsepower with a cheap Max Peating Rods turbo, and it's still holding up to this day. The guy has it, and it's awesome. So highly recommend checking out his stuff. He definitely has been moving up over the last year and a half, 2 years. He's been making bigger steps, and I'm just happy for him. Really good stuff. But yeah, that is basically it for this video. Just wanted to get you guys some content out, show you that awesome intake manifold. And again, if you guys want to check out the John 316 steering wheel, I have a video, will be linked in the description. So yeah, definitely check that out. And this steering wheel will be given away on my other YouTube channel, so definitely stay tuned. If you're not subscribed there, definitely subscribe, turn the bell icon on to get notified of every upload so you can enter to win. But that is basically it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, I have to say this at the end of my video. Jesus died and rose again in 3 days for you and I. And all you have to do is repent and trust in him, and you'll be saved. It's really that simple. Everyone's getting so religious about it and overcomplicating it. This and that has to be this and that. Seek first the kingdom, and the rest will be added. But that's basically it. I'm gonna go ahead and get off here, and always remember this.
Jesus loves you.